Good morning. So schooling, it's a relatively new top-down hierarchy where far away, unaccountable, like politicians, bureaucrats, teachers, unions, professional educators, they get together and decide what kids are going to be forced to learn. And schoolers are in the school environment, they either don't trust kids' natural learning instincts, or they're afraid of kids' natural learning instincts. They're afraid that it'll interfere with whatever their agenda is. Learning is nature's way. It's a hardwired, lifelong, timeless instinct. So most of us, myself included, are familiar with schools and schooling and what that system is like. We've either been to it or know somebody who has or has some contact with it. But what about the other way? What about the natural, evolutionary, we've been around on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. Like, what did learning look like in that way? What would a modern version of that look like? And so luckily there's a place called Sudbury Valley. And here they defy the usual conceptions of what a school must be in our modern era. This school has been operating in this way for 43 years. The school has no curriculum, gives no test, does not monitor students' progress, and does not assign students to classes or special spaces. All students, regardless of age, are allowed all day long, day after day, to go wherever they wish in the school's 2 buildings and 10-acre campus, to associate with whom they please and to do whatever they wish. What a concept. For me, that was extremely foreign, and there's almost none of that in my school experience, and one of the reasons I dislike school so much. That's what they don't do, but what does this school do? What does it look like? Well, what the school does provide is access to tools of learning. There are computers, books, a woodworking shop, a fully equipped kitchen, a pond, a nearby woods, athletic equipment, and adult staff members with expertise in a wide variety of endeavors who provide help and instruction when asked. The students have access to all of this, but they are never required or coaxed to take advantage of any of these resources. Just as a true hunter-gatherer child or adolescent, they are free to play and explore on their own, all day, every day. And that is what they do. The staff at the school and the parents who send their children there believe, as hunter-gatherers did, that children who are allowed to play and explore freely will learn what they need to know to become effective adults. So they trust their kids. They trust the nature way. The real kicker here, the amazing stat that jumped out at me about this school, is the cost per student is half that of the public schools in the area. I mean, imagine that, a school system that's half as much and works for everyone. Kids actually want to be there. And so where did this top-down forced system come from? This idea of schooling. Well, with the advent of agriculture, children as well as adults' lives changed dramatically from what they had been in hunter-gatherer times. Agriculture brought land ownership, status hierarchies, and most important for our considerations, servitude and slavery. To get children to abide by the new rules of unquestioned conformity and obedience, willfulness had to be beaten out of children. With the rise of schooling, compulsory schooling, people began to think of learning as children's work, which they must be forced to do. The same power-assertive methods that had been used to make children work in fields and factories were quite naturally transferred to the classroom. So there you go, schooling in a nutshell. And go on to say, children's own willfulness, playfulness, and curiosity were commonly seen as works of the devil. Surely those aspects of childhood were worthless for education. The literature of early education is filled with accounts of the duty of schoolmasters to beat children who disobeyed or failed to learn the prescribed lessons. Play was seen as the enemy of education, not the vehicle. So they sum up, what's the ideal environment for learning? To have unlimited free time and as much space in which to play and explore. Kids can mix freely with other children of all ages. They have access to a variety of knowledgeable and caring adults, have access to culturally relevant tools and equipment, and are free to play and explore with those items. So knives, whatever, bows, arrows, stones, rocks, all this dangerous stuff, they had no fear. They trusted that kids would learn, that they know what they're doing, that that's how you learn. They are free to express and debate any ideas that they wish to express and debate. They are free from bullying, which includes freedom from being ordered around arbitrarily by adults. And finally, they have a true voice in the group's decision-making process. Imagine that, trusting kids, actually listening to them and including them in the decisions instead of some closed, school board room where just a handful of bureaucrats make the decision for thousands of kids. And for me, the way I tie this in, or the most obvious way of learning, is the way all of us, or most of us, learn to speak our native language. English is my first language. I didn't take a class, didn't have any books or teachers or classrooms, didn't have to go anywhere. I just was surrounded by people who spoke English. That's how I learned. I contrast this with my high school Spanish experience of learning to speak Spanish. I think I took 4 years. And it was, sitting on my butt all day in a chair, listening to lectures and memorizations, and then having to do homework and take tests. And it just wasn't a very fun or practical experience. And then when I went to, Mexico, Central America, Spain, all these Spanish-speaking countries, I was super motivated to brush up on and perfect my Spanish and I was very practical or pragmatic about it. I was learning words that I needed for my everyday interaction, like currency, money, prices, food, how to say, do you have this food, not that food? Where's the bathroom? Where's a hotel around here? Where's the surf? How do I get a taxi? Like just real practical stuff, or how to say hi, or to greet someone, or bye, or just, like basic stuff. And I was picking it up really fast because I was fully immersed, and it was fun. It wasn't being forced to learn something that didn't have any immediate practical, environment. It was something that I was interested. I was making the choices of what to learn instead of the top down, someone else telling me what I had to learn. And likewise, it was the same when I went to Italy, France, Fiji, Morocco. I didn't learn as much of those languages, but I picked up just the basic words that I needed to get by, to say hello, to greet people, money, the same kind of things, So it wasn't this like multi-year, boring, drudgerous thing, sitting in a seat, having to learn stuff that I'm never going to use. It was super hands-on. And then when I left, I forgot a lot of it. Why? Because I don't need it. I don't speak those languages every day. I don't run into people that speak those languages. So spending 4 years to get a degree in that language made no sense. And so for me, this issue is important right now because the local schools in the area are starting to vote to mandate vaccines for kids of the COVID one, the experimental one that has a lot of controversy around it. And so for me, it's like, the same hierarchical top-down kind of force it on kids and not having much debate, not even including kids in the decision-making process. And whether it's the mass or the gender politics or the what to learn or what not to learn, for me, it's all distraction or all part of the same dysfunction of trying to force from the top down, very hierarchical way of overriding the natural instinct to learn, So the real problem is that we're forcing kids into something that is unnatural. It's not part of our evolution and part of our biology. And so the obvious solution is to return to a voluntary system like the school that I was talking about. And there's another name for it. It's called radical unschooling, like back in the day, it would have just been called learning or this is just what we do. They talk about evolution in this article, the idea that for survival, it would be natural for kids to pick up the ways of how to get food, how to take care of oneself, how to take care of one's family and kids and the people around them, and how to, medicine and skills and making tools and how to hunt and forage. You would just pick this stuff up as a natural thing of survival, but also procreation. If you can't do these things, it's hard to get a mate, or survival of the family and the tribe depended on it. And you don't have to force anybody to just do natural things. It just comes naturally. And I've noticed that kids and my son, he's just naturally interested in stuff. I don't have to force him into things, and whatever he's interested in, he's on it right away. He wants to learn. He wants to dive into it and dig into it and get fully immersed as he can because it's super interesting. He's passionate about it. No one has to force people to learn. I don't have to force to learn. I've learned more out of school than I did in school because it's been self-directed. I have followed stuff that's super interesting to me, and I've gone on deep, deep dives of becoming an expert in whatever it is I'm interested in, way more beyond than I could ever get in like a school type setting where, more forced on me and I couldn't follow my own direction, my own path, the stuff that I was interested in. My overall hope and, hearing about this school and how it's effective, it works, they have tons of graduates, there's story after story in the unschooling or radical unschooling community about kids who go on to college and all these, success stories and how, much happier they are, and the emotional stability, and you don't have to do like Ritalin and school shootings and all that stuff goes out the window. It's not a problem. So like for me, it's about, let's be open. Let's actually have a discussion about what might work, what has worked, the time tested, proven way. All these problems stem from the same kind of hierarchical, trying to force people out of their natural way, their normal, like a river, they flow. Water flows in a direction. We as human beings flow in the direction of our interests if we're allowed to. And so let's start talking about that. Can we start moving in that direction? So I'm hopeful that we do, and it's exciting. I love learning when I'm interested in stuff. It's super exciting. So thanks for watching.